I never thought selling my yacht would end with the FBI swarming my neighborhood, but that's exactly what happened. Blue lights flashing against the lake, neighbors whispering behind fences, and my HOA president Olivia Whitmore, or as everyone calls her Karen, screaming that I was running an illegal operation from my own dock. She called 911 accusing me of laundering money through a yacht sale, and that phone call started a chain of events that destroyed her entire empire. I live in Clearwater Estates, a quiet lakeside community where people pretend to wave politely while secretly counting how many blades of grass you have over regulation height. I bought my place 10 years ago, a little slice of calm. I worked hard for it. The only real problem was our HOA president, Olivia. Perfect hair-pink blazer, clipboard always in hand. She ran this neighborhood like a private kingdom. Every mailbox, every shrub, even the color of our trash bins needed her blessing. So when I decided to sell my yacht, a $2.5 million beauty named Justice, she lost her mind. The moment a broker from Miami arrived, she came storming down to the dock like she owned the lake. "You can't do that here," she shrieked. "This is HOA property," I told her calmly. "No, Olivia, this dock's on my land, private property. Got the deed if you want to see it." She scoffed, whipped out her phone and started filming. Within minutes I heard her call 911. "Yes, officer. I'd like to report a financial crime happening right now." I thought it was a joke until 2 police cruisers rolled up, lights flashing, sirens echoing across the water. When the officers stepped out, Olivia was waiting like she was about to win an Oscar. "That man," she said, pointing at me, "is committing fraud. He's selling HOA property illegally." One of the cops, Officer Barnes, looked at me, looked at her, and sighed. I pulled a thick folder from my truck. "Here's my deed survey and building permit. The dock was built before the HOA even existed." Barnes flipped through it and said, "Looks clear to me. No crime here." You could almost see Olivia's soul leave her body. Her face turned red, her lips trembling. No crime. He's selling a yacht worth millions. Where's the oversight? This is embezzlement. Barnes gave her the look every cop reserves for neighborhood busybodies. "Ma'am, being rich isn't a crime." But she wasn't done. Oh no. Olivia started live streaming to the HOA Facebook group, ranting about a major financial scandal. My phone buzzed non-stop, neighbors asking what happened, others accusing me of hurting property values. My wife texted, "What did you do now?" That night I got an email from my broker. "Hey Brian, weird thing. Your HOA president contacted the buyer, told him the sale's under federal review." He's spooked. That's when I realized this wasn't just a tantrum. She was actively sabotaging me. I opened my filing cabinet, pulled out years of HOA records I'd kept just in case. Fees, budgets, special assessments, all the nonsense we'd been charged for. And that's when I noticed something strange 3 years ago, a $4,800 charge for dock lighting upgrades. Except, no new lights had ever been installed. The check was made out to a company called Blue Harbor Services, LLC. I looked it up. The registered owner, Daniel Whitmore. Olivia's husband. My heart sank. This wasn't about my yacht. This was about money. I forwarded everything to my lawyer, David Holbrook, the kind of guy who never smiles but always wins. His reply came fast. "Brian, this looks bad for her. But we'll need more than one transaction. Keep digging." So I did. Quietly. Over the next week I collected copies of HOA budgets, invoices, even screenshots of Olivia bragging about funding improvements. The deeper I went, the uglier it got. Fake invoices, duplicate payments, all leading back to Blue Harbor Services. Meanwhile, Olivia went on a smear campaign. She printed flyers accusing me of illegal activity and dropped them in every mailbox. At the next HOA meeting, she stood behind the podium like a dictator. "Mr. Thompson's yacht sale has raised serious ethical concerns," she declared. "We must protect our community." I stood up. "Olivia, are you implying I'm a criminal?" She smirked. "If the shoe fits." For the first time, though, people didn't clap. Greg, my neighbor across the street, spoke up. "You've gone too far, Karen. Brian's done nothing wrong. Maybe you should show us some transparency for once." The room went dead quiet. Olivia glared, but she knew she'd lost control. After the meeting, Greg pulled me aside and handed me a flash drive. "You didn't get this from me. My cousin used to do maintenance for the HOA. He said she never paid him, but she somehow bought a new Mercedes last spring." That night I opened the drive, and what I saw made my stomach twist. Scanned receipts, all fake. Same handwriting, same bogus company. Blue Harbor Services again. By midnight I had a 20-page document of pure corruption. The next morning I met with David. He flipped through the pages and nodded slowly. "This is enough to start something real. We'll send a cease and desist letter to stop her slander, and then we'll request a full financial audit from the county clerk." Hours later, Olivia called me herself. "You think you can drag my name through the mud? You'll regret it." I said, "If you've got nothing to hide, you've got nothing to fear." She hung up, and an hour later I got a notice, $1,500 fine for defaming the community. Classic Karen move. But that same night I received an anonymous email from someone calling themselves Dockworker 47. "You don't know me, but I used to work for Clearwater HOA. Watch your back. She's got friends in City Hall. She knows you're looking." That message sent a chill through me. So I dug deeper, and I found the real bombshell. The HOA had received a $1.2 million grant from the city for dock and marina safety upgrades. Not a single improvement had been made, and the contractor listed Blue Harbor Services. Again. By the next morning, David and I filed a whistleblower report. 2 days later, I got a call from a woman named Agent Laura Jensen with the state's Financial Bureau. "Mr. Thompson," she said, "your case matches other complaints. We think multiple HOAs are funneling grant money through fake contractors. We need you to keep collecting evidence, but don't confront her." So I played along. At the next community cleanup day, I showed up smiling. Olivia greeted me like nothing had happened. "Glad to see you cooperating again, Brian," she said, handing me gloves. Behind her, I saw her assistant whispering, carrying boxes to her car. That night, Greg texted, "She's shredding documents at the clubhouse." I called Agent Jensen immediately. Within hours, her team got a court order. The next morning, 2 officers walked into the clubhouse with a warrant. Olivia tried to block them at the door. "You can't come in here without—" One held up the paper, signed by a judge, "Ma'am." They took everything: files, computers, drives. That afternoon, she stormed up my driveway. "You did this? You think you can humiliate me?" I folded my arms. "You called 911 on me for selling my own yacht. Turns out you were the one breaking the law." Her face went pale. For once, she didn't have a comeback. The following week, 3 black SUVs rolled into the neighborhood, FBI jackets gleaming in the sunlight. By noon, the whole place was watching agents carry boxes of evidence out of the clubhouse. Olivia stood near her car, mascara-streaked, yelling that it was all a mistake. Nobody believed her. I stood on my porch sipping coffee while the FBI read her rights. She wasn't arrested that day, but the look in her eyes told me she knew it was over. Still, she tried one last trick. The next morning, every mailbox had a glossy newsletter, her face smiling on the front page. False allegations by bitter neighbor debunked. Inside, she claimed I forged documents, accused me of defamation. I almost laughed. Desperation has a smell, and this was it. So that weekend I hosted something I called Community Transparency Night. I set up a projector in my driveway, ordered a dozen pizzas, and invited everyone. When the sun went down, I started the show. On the screen, scans of HOA checks signed by Olivia, transfers to offshore accounts, internal emails moving grant funds before the audit. Gasps filled the air. Someone shouted, "Oh my God, she really did it, E." Greg stood up. I motioned we suspend the entire HOA board pending investigation. Dozens of voices echoed. Seconded. The vote was unanimous. Olivia was out. I thought that was the end. But 2 days later, I got another anonymous email, this time with proof of bribery between Olivia and a city official named Howard Briggs. He'd approved the fake grants in exchange for consulting fees. I sent it straight to Agent Jensen. Her reply came fast. "You just connected the dots. Expect action soon." The next morning, sirens wailed again. This time it wasn't just FBI, it was the IRS, county sheriffs, and unmarked vans. They raided not only the clubhouse, but Olivia's mansion. Her husband Daniel tried to run, literally jumped in his Mercedes, and sped toward the gate until 2 sheriff cars boxed him in. The agents yanked him out in front of everyone. Someone's kid even filmed it for TikTok. By noon, Olivia herself was led out in handcuffs, screaming that I'd set her up. Cameras flashed. Reporters swarmed. Greg leaned over the fence and said, "Well, Brian, guess she finally got her 15 minutes of fame." Within a week, local headlines exploded. HOA president arrested in $1.2 million fraud and bribery scheme. The FBI confirmed they were investigating multiple HOAs across the state. My phone wouldn't stop ringing. Reporters called me a whistleblower hero. HOA reform groups wanted interviews. But behind all that noise, I just felt tired. For a while, I thought about walking away from it all, selling my house, leaving Clearwater behind. I'd lost so much sleep, so much peace. I started to wonder, was it even worth it? Maybe I should have just ignored her like everyone else did. Then one morning, I took a walk down to the dock. The water was calm golden under the sunrise. On the railing, someone had left a small wooden box. Inside was a hand-carved miniature yacht. On the side, painted in tiny blue letters, one word: justice. That's when I realized, yeah, it was worth it. Weeks later, the HOA was officially dissolved. The city appointed an interim board, and somehow they made me chair. My first act was transparency. No more secret budgets, no more fines for mailbox paint. We held meetings by the lake open to everyone. For the first time in years, Clearwater Estates actually felt like a community. But peace never lasts long. A month later, I got another envelope, no return address, just a flash drive inside. The note read, "You didn't uncover everything. Look deeper." When I opened it, I found files, city memos, emails, financial records, and one name that made my blood run cold. Councilwoman Lydia Barrett. She'd publicly praised the FBI for cleaning up HOA corruption, but here she was co-signing new grants to a re-registered version of Blue Harbor Services. I sent everything to Agent Jensen. She showed up the next day, serious as ever. "You were right," she said. "The network's rebuilding itself. Barrett's involved. This goes all the way to the top." And once again, the raids began, this time at City Hall. Barrett was caught red-handed, linked to millions in fake contracts. The mayor held a press conference promising reform. My little HOA drama had just blown the lid off a statewide scandal. When it was finally over, Jensen called me. "Brian, congratulations. You just helped take down a sitting council member." I laughed softly. All I wanted was to sell my yacht. Months later, I took that yacht, Justice II, out onto the lake. The water was calm again, the sky clear. The same lake where Karen had once screamed at me now reflected nothing but peace. I thought about everything that had happened. How one phone call, one false accusation had unraveled a network of corruption stretching far beyond our neighborhood. How a petty act of control exposed something massive. Sometimes life doesn't hand you revenge. It hands you poetic justice. And if this whole ordeal taught me anything, it's this. When someone calls 911 to destroy you, make sure justice is the one that calls them back.